Ayo, what's good? What's poppin', y'all? I know it's been a minute since I did one of these type of videos, but 2020 is coming up, man, and I figured, you know what? I'm gonna jump back into this shit. 2020, I definitely want to get back into YouTube and back into making more videos and just up my my online presence a little bit more than I did in 2019, other than doing the podcast. You know what I mean? So, I figured what I'm gonna do. I had this idea for a while, and I figured I might as well execute it now. You know what I mean? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a retrospective album review. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do, or what I plan to do, is review some of my favorite albums that I grew up listening to, or maybe even some albums that I didn't listen to the whole album, and just kind of take them in now as like a grown up, as a full adult, and just see if I feel the same way that I felt when I was younger, or just see what I feel about those albums in general. You know what I mean? And I want to concentrate on the classics, so stuff that's coming up, that's turning like 10, 15, 20, 25 years, not something that's like 5 years old or something. I want to do something that's a little more classic. Just take me back to like my youth, or or just something maybe even before I was born. Who knows? You know what I mean? So first album I figured that I would do a review of, a retrospective review, is it's my man Jay-Z. You know what I mean? Just a couple days ago, I think, was the 20th anniversary. Album dropped December 28th, 1999. So that'll be the 20th anniversary of In My Lifetime Volume 3. I think that finished out the In My Lifetime series. There was 3 of those albums. You know what I mean? And that dropped 20 years ago. It's coming up on 2000. It's coming up on 2020, like 2 days from now. So I figured this was the perfect album to review and just see, what I'm saying? Does it still stand up the way it did back then? Has it aged? Do I feel the same about it? How Jay's rhymes, stand up? Do they still feel the same? Is the production the same? Because he's still around. He's still doing his thing. And it's not like this was his first album that he dropped. This was his 4th album that he dropped. You know what I mean? So kudos to Jay. He's been doing it for a long time, and I figured he's the perfect artist to kind of start this off with and focus on, and, kind of drop this with. You know what I mean? So again, we're going to do In My Lifetime Volume 3, Jay-Z. That dropped December 28th, 1999. Feels really weird to say that number, but 1999. And that was a crazy month for Jay, because if I'm not mistaken, earlier that month, he got into some shit where he stabbed Un, you know what I mean, at the Q-Tip record release party. And, I believe he eventually pled guilty to that in court and had to, deal with the repercussions of that or whatever. But, shit happens, you know what I'm saying? So that happened. He also, I guess, would have just turned 30. He just turned 50 this month, so he just would have turned 30. So interesting to see where his mind was at 30 compared to where his mind is at now at 50. He's obviously now a billionaire at 50. He was a multi-millionaire at 30, but definitely interesting, you know what I mean? So that being said, further ado, let me just go through it track by track, and let's see how I felt about this, you know what I mean? Bumped it earlier on Spotify. Let me just bring up the track listing here. What was it? In My Lifetime. Oh, shoot, before I do that, let me just show you, you know what I mean, like how big of a Jigga fan I actually am, you know what I'm saying? Like I still got the S. Carters, you know what I mean? They're in good shape. Shout out to all my sneaker pimps, my sneaker heads out there. You know what I mean? I still got the S. Carters. And yeah, a couple Jay-Z books. I know there's a new one that Michael Eric Dyson, I believe, just dropped, but I got a few of the old ones. Hardcover. You know what I mean? Decoded. It's the hardcover right there. You know what I mean? So shout out Jigga Man. And shout out all my sneakerheads that got, them old school shoes, man. I don't got the G units or nothing like that. I got the J's because I thought they looked kind of nice. But let me bring up this track listing. In My Lifetime, Volume 3. I'd play it, but I don't want to get hit with any copyright infringement shits on YouTube when I post this video up on YouTube. So we're going to skip all of that, playing that shit. You know what I mean? I might do that with some DJ stuff strictly for IG another time. But yeah, I'm not going to do that right now in this video. Right now, like I said, this series, I'm just going to do more of the reviews, you know what I mean, more of the retrospect. So, you know what I mean, I took notes, you know, and some of the tracks didn't age too well. Some of them definitely aged decently, you know what I mean? So, first off the hop was the intro, you know what I mean? And the intro, it was dope to hear Pain in the Ass. If you know Jay, he had Pain in the Ass, I think, on his first 4 albums. This might have been the last one. I'm not sure if he's on the next one or not, but it was dope to hear Pain in the Ass. You know what I mean? Just to hear him yell out, okay, reloaded. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think you're fucking with big time? You know what I mean? Like, it was dope to hear Pain in the Ass and just remember, like, this dude was a big part of Rockefeller early on, you know? Track he had the Emery mention, you know what I mean? And this was early Jigga. This was pre-Beyonce, pre-Blue Ivory, pre-Kanye West. Damon Biggs was still in the picture, you know what I mean? So, basic intro, it was what it was, you know what I mean? Then we move on to So Ghetto. So I think that was track 2, So Ghetto. And for me, like, to be honest with you, I just felt like this was just, you know, your regular Jay-Z, braggadocious Jay-Z. You know, nothing major, nothing, you know, nothing out of the ordinary for Jay. It's just your typical Jay with it. If it was anybody else, you'd be like, oh my God, that's the illest shit I've ever heard. But because it's Jay, it's like, yeah, that's Jay, man. He takes stuff that other dudes make look so complicated and make it look, you know, he makes it look super simple, you know what I mean? We had Do It Again. You know, I wasn't feeling Do It Again. Not even gonna lie. You know what I mean? Like, just wasn't feeling it. Well, actually, no. Put Your Hands Up. I was feeling that. Sorry, with Emil and Beanie Siegel. I was definitely feeling that. Everybody knows that track, so that one's definitely dope. You know what I mean? Dope Man as well was dope. I think it was Things You Do with Mariah Carey that I wasn't feeling. Like that. That one was the one where I was just like, yo, what the fuck, man? Like, you wasted Mariah on this track and horrible, horrible hook. You know what I mean? I wasn't feeling that one. All those other tracks before that, I definitely was feeling. Those are the ones I feel like most people know, except for Dope Man. You know, most people might not know Dope Man, but Things That You Do featuring Mariah Carey, I just was not feeling that one at all. Looking back at it now, It's Hot, horrible chorus. You know, I wasn't feeling the chorus at all. You know, I felt like it was basic Timberland production. Let me make sure that was Timberland who produced that track. Yeah, that was, you know, and I just felt like that was just one of Timberland's weaker tracks. I wasn't feeling the production on that track. He did have some bangers on this album, but that track to me, it wasn't it, you know what I mean? So that's just a hard pass for me on that track. Next up, we got Snoopy track with Juvie. Yeah, man, I'm feeling it, you know what I mean? I like Juvie on the hook. And again, it's just your classic Jigga, man. He's just bouncing on the track. He's just bragging on it, you know. Some quotables on it, you know what I mean? But for the most part, that's just the one where I'll rewind it, I'll play it back. The beat gets you hooked, and it's just your classic Jigga, you know what I mean? Next, we moved on to S. Carter. Yeah, I felt like fuck this hook, man. Like, I wasn't feeling the hook. I feel like cocaine must have been involved with the hook or something, you know? Like, some A&R was coked up and was like, yeah, that's the hook. Yeah, go with that for the hook, you know what I mean? I wasn't feeling that one at all. I felt like Emil's voice was totally off. And she sounded worse than Vita, if y'all remember Vita from Murder Inc. You know what I mean? I just was not feeling her on that track. Definitely a throwaway track. And Jay-Z, you owe me 4 minutes. You owe me money for 4 minutes and 14 seconds of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm never getting that shit back. So, pay me back, Hove. Pay me back. Next, move on to Pop for Rock. Another Emil verse. And, sorry, I was never an Emil fan. You know what I mean? I can never really fuck with her as a rapper. There's so many other female rappers who I felt were better. And I felt like she was just rushed into it. Didn't like her shit, so that just threw me off right off the hook, or right off the hop. You know what I mean? The hook was so on this track. You know what I mean? Hook, you know, hook was so. It was better than S. Carter. Beanie Siegel, you know, did his thing on the track. You know, Siegs did his thing, killed it. Bleak sounded hungry as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I love Bleak. Not a lot of people really liked Bleak that time. I was really a fan of Bleak. I just felt like he sounded hungry and had an urgency in his voice. You know, could have just been his youth. But, you know, I felt like he did his thing. And I still kind of feel like he did his thing. You know what I mean? I'm not even really mad at him. And then you got Jay, and he kind of, you know, did what Jay does. You know, an average Jay verse. Not super Jay verse, but an average Jay verse. Next up, we had the Hove In A Loon. You know, right off the hop, the thing that piqued me was when he said he's the ghetto answer to Trump. You know, back then it would have meant something. Now it have a whole other meaning. But it was just interesting to hear that rhyme and just, you know, see 20 years later that both of those, Jay-Z and Trump, you know what I mean, like just totally different beasts at that time. And I think what he was trying to reference, I'm not sure if he's still trying to reference that, so to speak, is what it is. I like the line where he was like, "I don't trust uppity white folk, keep the cannon tucked." You know what I mean? That was slick. Like it was slick. It was a dope short little verse from Jay, and did what it did. Good little interlude. You know what I mean? Big Pimpin', it's Big Pimpin'. You know what I'm saying? It's everybody knows Big Pimpin', and Pimp C murdered that track. Shout out Pimp C. If you want to get some real interesting stories on that video, definitely check out Pimp C's biography. I read that book. The lady who did Ozone Magazine wrote that. And yeah, man, it was a dope book, man. Definitely, check that out. He keeps it real when he talks about, this song, how he didn't want to do it, and, how eventually he jumped on it, and, the whole Mercedes story, and what he was wearing in the video, and, Gloria Velez and this, that, and the third, you know what I mean? So check that out. Is That Your Bitch? Whew. Probably the best hook on this whole album. You know what I mean? Like, that chorus, god damn, Missy might have been the best chorus person in hip hop at that time. Maybe Busta Rhymes. But Missy was killing it, man. Like, this one gets the club going. You know what I mean? You can still throw this track on today and people will wild out in the club for this track. Like, Missy just, she killed it, man. Then we got Come Get Me. This track was a little weird, you know what I mean? Like, it was definitely weird to start off with just that ignorant J shit. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna have that ignorant rhyme, because I forgot about it. I don't remember the whole album. I forgot about it. And then the beat kind of started getting a little funky, and then it did this weird transition shit, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? I didn't understand the whole transition thing. And then it came back, you know what I mean, a little bit funkier, and then Jay was going on about, letting people know, yo, you could try to rob me, but, come get me. I got this, that, and the other, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, it is, man. It's a skippable track for me, but has a couple moments in it, NYMP, NYMP, I guess, NYMP. I think that probably stands for New York Marcy Projects. I could be wrong, but, I don't really remember what the acronym for that was. It's just another braggadocious J track, you know what I'm saying? Just talking about the hood and where he's from and whatnot. And, you know what I'm saying? What was a line I liked in there? I've been nice before ice, not before Christ, but a long fucking time. And that's true, man. If you think about the fact that it's 2020 and Jay's still one of the preeminent, MCs in hip hop, 2020. I'm talking about an album that dropped in, 1999 or 2000. And he had already dropped 4 albums at that point, and he's still killing it. Whoo, Jigga been nice before ice, not before Christ, but a long fucking time. And that's a dope fucking line, you know what I mean? Like, this track is just absolute black machismo to me. And, Jay kind of oozed that, at that time period, and then you kind of come to a close with the album with Hova, the Hova song outro, same beat that he had on the the intro, you know what I mean? And it's just Jay being Jay, doing his thing. And then he ends it off with the Anything track. It's interesting, he'd already sampled Annie, with the Hard Knock Life. So it was interesting that to see him go back to something like that and sample Oliver, and do this track. It's all right. I don't know if anybody really remembers this track like that. Shout out his moms, because he definitely, shows a lot of love to his moms and whatnot with this track. And shout out Sam Snead of Death Row, who produced this track, you know what I mean? But I'm glad nobody really went back to the whole, the whole sampling, the musical thing, because, could have got really whack really fast if that became a trend, So I'm glad that didn't really become a trend, you know what I mean? Some quick stats about the album. He sold about 3 million, 3.9 million. Sorry, not 3.9 million. 3,093,000 copies as of 2009. Triple plat in America, gold in Canada, which is 50,000. I think gold in the UK, which is probably about the same amount. I could be wrong. And yeah, it did pretty well. I don't know what the source review or rating was for it. I don't think it was a 5 mic album, probably around a 4.5 mic album. Definitely not a 5 mic album. Me personally, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good album. Go back and bump it if you're a J head. If you're not, you can see, where a lot of or a lot of Jay-Z, you know, from today comes from, and what he sounded like as a 30-year-old man compared to what he sounds like as a 50-year-old man today. Um, yeah, man, and he did his thing. It's Jay fucking Z, man. You know what I'm saying? He's dope. He's never not gonna be dope. You know, he's obviously slowing his output, you know, down a little bit, as he should. He's a family man, but at this point, he's definitely a hip hop god. So shout out Jay. Like I said, a 7.5 out of 10. You know, he's got doper albums. He's got worse albums. It's somewhere in the middle of his albums. You know, but if it was anybody else, they would be like, shit, that's an A+ album. But like I said, with Jay, he set the bar so high for himself that, you know, you expect perfection from him as you do with Nas, right? So that's what it is, man. That's my review for Jay-Z in My Lifetime, Volume 3. You know, I'll try to do another one, another classic sometime soon. And I don't want to just do hip hop. You know, like if you know me, you know I listen to other music other than just hip hop. So expect me to do some rock alternative albums as well as some of these classic hip hop albums. I originally wanted to do a couple Korn albums, but I think the time passed for that. And I wanted to do Paul's Boutique like a couple months back. Great fucking album, by the way. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to that album. One of the best hip hop albums of all fucking time. Shout out to Beastie Boys. That being said, you know, man, hit me up, hit the subscribe button, you know, do the damn thing. Happy New Year's. Let me know what you want me to do, what you want me to review. And I'm going to get back into doing the video reviews. And if you haven't checked out the podcast, Toronto Talks Podcast, check it out. And expect to see me doing some DJing videos on my IG sometime soon. That being said, I hope you had a great 2019, but I hope you have an even better 2020. One love, baby. We out. Peace.